Bethany, and I host the Knitting Thru podcast. This is not a podcast episode as much as it's kind of a one-off video. I wanted to go over the WIPs that I still have left from 2023. It's 2024 if you're watching this in the future. It is April 4th. I just finished the podcast episode and I thought, while I have everything out and while I'm still wanting to talk about knitting, I would just go ahead and do this video and post it next week. So I look exactly the same, which is great because I'm good. And then we will go over these WIPs. There aren't a bunch because in the last 3 months I have finished 2 and frogged 1. And now that we're in a new quarter of the year, I thought I'd review where we're at and what my plans are for these standing WIPs that are still around. Not at the beginning of this year, but at the beginning of last year, I started with 0 projects on my needles. I started January 1st with nothing on my needles, and it was kind of weird, but it was also very satisfying, and I'd really love to do that this next coming year as well. And I think it's possible with the plan that I've been working with working on less WIPs at a time so that I actually finish them. It's working out well. So I am hoping that will continue throughout the end of the year and I can reclaim my needles and all of my tools and stuff, because I often don't know where they are because they're in a project that I haven't touched in a few months. So starting off, this one I have touched in the last month. In March, I went to go see Dune 2 with my husband, and I needed a stockinette project, which I didn't want to have to look at all. This one is a muscle burrow that I'm doing. This little progress keeper is how much I put on the hat while I was watching Dune. It's not as much as I thought it was going to be, because throughout the movie, I kept knitting and then going, what is happening? I haven't read the books or anything. My husband's a huge fan. He used to watch the old movie, not the super old one, the one that was made in the 80s, I think. And so he knows the story really well, and I'm just trying to keep up, really. I think it's very cool, but I'm just trying to keep up. So this is a fingering weight held with a lace weight. I am really enjoying it. The fingering weight is a Malabrigo 100% merino superwash in the colorway Moon Trio Full. So of course it has these red and yellow and blue specks in there. In the yarn itself, they're a lot more saturated, but of course I'm holding it with a lace weight cashmere. It's the Plume Base by Magpie Fibers. So it's just this white. The color is called something fancy. Fior di Latte is what it's called. But it's just kind of this warm white, which is nice. I'm enjoying it. I wasn't sure if at the beginning I wanted the colors to be a little more washed out as they're coming out, but I think I like that. I'm not enjoying the needles as much as I thought I would. I got a pair of cubics. These are a 2.75 millimeter size, which is a US 3, right? A US 3. So it's fine, but it's a little bit awkward. It's not as smooth as I usually use ChowGoo needles, and it's not as smooth as I would like it to be. So I think I'm gonna order a pair of 16-inch ChowGoo needles. But at this point, I think it would help me go a little faster and enjoy this knit a little bit more. I'm ignoring it a little bit because of the needles. So that would really help me get going with it if I could. And I don't know if I want them to be 16-inch needles either, because these are 16-inch needles and my stitches keep falling off, and the ChowGoos are just as slippery, if not more slippery than these. So I might need to get a 22-inch something for it to to go more smoothly. But that is a purchase I should make later, or I could just get my interchangeable set and do some magic loop business on it. I should look at that. I'm going to set that out and look at that for later. The next 2023 whip that I still have going is this Anthology throw. It's absolutely beautiful. I love all of the scrap yarns I've used in it. I just finished a shawl that I used this in, and I used this first, so I actually ran out of this colorway. It's Shroom by Knitting Nakabi. I ran out of it before I was supposed to in the shawl, so it's a little bit shorter than it's supposed to be, which is fine. I'm actually glad I was able to use it in more than one project. I'm probably going to bring this brown back in at some point. I have a little bit more left of that. I have a bunch left of this blue, but this green, this brown, this red, this white, I don't have any more of those. I've used all of it in this. I have more of this green, a lot more actually. And so I think I'm at 30%. The pattern gives you percentages, which is really nice because right now we're at over 500 stitches per round on this thing. This one I've also used all of what was left for that. That is a Jody Long Alba yarn in the colorway Kingfisher, which is appropriate. Look at how bright that is. It's lovely. So I'm kind of doing this a few neutrals, pop of color, a few neutrals, pop of color type of palette, which I'm really enjoying. I like that a lot. However, I think I'm out of like scraps. What I have left of this would be considered a scrap, I think, because I finished it. I finished what I needed for it from a shawl. And I believe from here to here had an increase in there somewhere. So this will not be as wide as this was for it. And then I'd be using the last of this. However, I really, really enjoy this yarn. So I might put it in there and then just order more because I really, I really enjoy working with it. But all of these are non-superwash, fingering weight, just pieces, scraps that I've had. I think one of the things that I'm going to do, my sister gifted me some handspun of hers, a lot of handspun of hers actually for Christmas. I cried. It was so special. And I thought it would be nice to put those in this, but I haven't used them for any other projects yet. So this one's kind of hanging out, and I don't know if I will finish this by the end of the year. I was planning on finishing it by the end of last year, but I ran out of scraps to use for it. So one of the things that I know that I can use for it are the leftovers that I'll have from my half and half wrap. This is another one that I'm using. Like, you can tell I'm not super far into this, but this has been on my needles since last year, mostly because I'm bored. I'm bored with it. I'm not even halfway through it. I'm down to almost 100 stitches here. I cast on 200, and of course from here to here is the longest, right? And it's getting less and less. And so I think once I get down to like 75, it's gonna go pretty quickly. So that is a Good Wool by Pearl Soho is what I'm using for that. In the colorway Blue Moon, you can see these blue tones in there. And then this one is what I want to have as my second half. This is the half and half wrap by Pearl Soho. It's a free pattern and that they offer. And this one is called, sorry, I'm trying to look at my tags that I have on my bulletin board. This one is called Coastal Gray, even though it's kind of purple. So I really like these gray-ish things together. They're very nice, and I know that I'm not going to use all of these yarns for this half and half wrap. I have 200 grams of each color, and this is my second skein. And of course I've done, you know, I'm down to half the stitches, but of course that's going to be less than half, right? It gets less and less. So I'm going to have leftovers for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if it's over 50 grams of leftovers for these yarns. And I think they would work really well in this. I think the leftovers would work really well in this, but that means I have to finish this. And I've been putting rows on it. I've been putting more rows on it when I'm sitting and waiting for my kids to go to bed, because it's such low light in there that all I can really do is, you know, garter or stockinette in the round. I can't really do anything else. I barely have enough light to, you know, do my German short row in there. So I'm going to keep working on those. I'm realizing that this one's probably going to be last in the list of things that get done. And the only two I have left, I realize I'm holding 3 bags, but it's actually only 2 whips. The only 2 I have left are a couple pairs of socks. So I have a hat, 2 shawls, because even though the Anthology throw is supposed to be this huge blanket, I'm not sure if I'm going to knit it to that size. I might stop it short and just have it be shawl, like more blanket size than a huge Anthology throw. Partially because my fingering weight scraps come pretty slowly, because I don't knit fingering weight non-superwash things very often. I use superwash for my socks. I like using that for my socks, but I'm going to, I think, do another summer fade hexie blanket with the leftovers from my sock stuff from now on. I don't know. I'll finish the first one and make a decision about that, because I have lots of superwash scraps. Speaking of socks, that is what these 2 projects are. I'm pulling from the inside and the outside of this cake. This is a Knit Pick Stroll fingering yarn so it's a 75-25 superwash merino nylon blend in the color Red Wing Blackbird. And you can see the pink and red in the black there. It's hard to knit at night. But there are a couple of reasons why I'm not enjoying this project, and I think I have some solves for them. I have this pop of color at the edge of the cuffs that's in the Knitted Wit Carnelian base. I really like that. I might do a contrast heel with that as well. I have to weigh it to see if I have enough for that. Or maybe a toe. Maybe I would have enough for the toes. I originally was going to use this yarn to make some socks for my sister. She's a birder. She really likes birds. She's always, and I know what a red-winged blackbird looks like. They're very common here in Indiana. So I thought that would be fun to gift this to her. But then my daughter asked for me to make her some socks from it, and so I thought, well, that's fine. But then she ended up not liking it because she doesn't really like black. I think she thought it would be more red than it is. So I still knit them as a 64 stitch circumference, because of course this whole back is ribbed, so it's very stretchy. And the whole point of the banana sockin pattern, which is what this is you just do this. You just do this whole ribbed back the whole way down, and you do this whole scrunchy, you know, it's stockinette and reverse stockinette in sequence, and then you do that as a tube, and then whatever, I'm sorry, my stomach is growling, whatever size your kid's foot is, it fits it, because this scrunches up for the front of the instep, and then of course this will stretch out for the heel. So it's supposed to be very versatile for a kid's sock. I think it's smart. I think it makes sense. I'm also bored with it. So I thought about putting a heel in it and then just continuing it so that I could make them for my sister. Just continue with the original plan and have them be for my sister for her birthday in August. That means that I need to do this sequence for the rest of this. The cuffs match, right? They're matching. But then I need to do however many for this leg. That's okay, because I think now that I've done that much for the leg, I can very easily track, how my progress basically on it. It is hard for me to do like an indefinite thing. Like, oh, I'll just keep knitting on this tube until it's done. And then I'm like, when is it done? How do I know when it's done? Oh my gosh, this is going to take forever. So I think even though it's supposed to be this great kid sock, I don't think I'll ever finish it, because I don't think I'll ever finish it like this, because it's super boring, and it's not even the kind of boring that I can do like in the dark. I actually have to pay attention to it even though it's boring. And so that's just not fitting in with what I am going for. So I think I will put a heel in this and finish it up so that I have a way to track it. I think that'll make it easier for me to do. Or I might just frog them and start it over. Do something else, like frog it back to the cuff and do something else. There needs to be a change on it somehow. So I don't really want to frog it back though. That's the thing. That's the issue I have with frogging stuff. Like, if it's technically working, it's technically working. It's technically what it's supposed to be, but I'm not enjoying it at all. And since I'm pulling from the inside and the outside, frogging it is kind of a mess. But I should probably just do it. I should probably just do it and take it back to the cuffs and do something else with it, because I'm really not enjoying it at all. And I don't even know if I'm even enjoying the yarn very much, because it's hard to work with for me. The pops of color are fine. There's nothing wrong with the yarn. You know what I mean? When you're like, okay, there's nothing wrong with the yarn. There's nothing actually wrong with the pattern. This is just not working for me. That's when I have a harder time. And it really should be the easiest time to justify something, right? But if there's a problem with the yarn, then I'm like, oh, well, this isn't working. Let's frog it. And if there's a problem with the pattern, I'm like, oh, well, this isn't right for this yarn. Let's frog it. But if it's for me, there's a part of me that's like, Mama didn't raise no quitter. Finish the socks. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to finish them, and I'm just going to feel bad about not finishing them. So I should just, I'm going to frog them, guys. I'm going to frog them. But I also don't want this yarn sitting in my stash because I don't like it very much. So I might just give it to someone. That's probably what I should do. Or maybe I should crochet it into something, because I've been thinking about doing that hexy that's just like different scrappy stuff. But this is like 100 grams of yarn, right? So that's not going to get rid of a lot of it. I don't know. I'll probably ask my sister if she wants it, because she's a knitter and she might want it. I can ask her. It was gifted to me for my birthday too, from my mother. That always makes me think of that thing where like going to therapy is like a psychologist walking around in your head and being like, why do you keep this? This isn't serving you. And then you're like, because it's a gift from my mother, and you don't throw away gifts. Like, that's how this feels right now. Okay, the last one I have is also a sock whip. I am using this gray with it as the like in between. I'm using these as the palette socks, which I'm very into, by the way. I just haven't used them for a while. And I think if I do frog the black ones, this will be my last sock whip of 2023. And I'd probably be able to get through it a lot more easily because it's the last sock whip of 2023. I have all these minis that I was gifted in a swap. We did a mini swap. And so they're these beautiful different colors. These are a lot more loosely spun. So I think I'm going to use the loosely spun ones on the leg and then use the, like, what feels like a more socky yarn on the foot. I have the cuffs, and then I have this one little color stuck on there. I know that with these socks, I'm not going to be able to use all of these minis, but that's part of why the Hexie blanket for the superwash yarns is very attractive to me, because I think I would be able to use all of it for those. So yeah, I think I am just going to keep with these smaller stripes and then be okay with it not being all the way gone. I need to weigh them, because if I've done a sock project with them before, and I used all of them in that sock project, and it was really nice, and I like those socks, and I've kept them. There are even more in here. More. Oh, you can't see them in there like that. More in here. I've used a couple of them, but then these are obviously left over. The sock yarns that feel more socky, right? Like these are the more loosely, let's see here. Where is it? There are only 3 that seem, okay, I'm going to start over. That's okay though. Okay, so this is my last sock whip of 2023, and I might be frogging these back to the cuffs as well. I'm not sure. I'm still thinking about it. Here's the thing. I need to, oh no. They're dropping like flies. Okay, I have these minis, which I was gifted in a swap. Some of them are, I don't think they have any nylon content because they're very loosely spun, which is fine because they're beautiful and I still want to use them. So these are the ones that are more loosely spun, and then these 3 are the ones that are left that are more of a sock yarn type of, I think there's nylon in there, and they're more tightly spun. I'm using this Cascade yarn in the gray as the main, I guess the main color, even though I didn't start with this one. I used all of this purple, this dark purple. Oh no. Oh, here it is. I thought I dropped the other cuff. I used all of this dark purple for the cuffs. So that's really satisfying to use all of that. And then I have this gray in between as like a transition color. And then I have this one attached to the leg. So I was planning on using these more loosely spun ones for the legs, and the more socky yarns. Oh, I guess it's these 4. Yeah, these 4 that are the more socky ones. Oh, no, that one's not it. It's just these 3 are the more socky ones. I really, really like that one by my thumb a lot. I've tried to use it in a few things and it hasn't worked for those, but I keep trying because I really like it. And I really like this one too. It looks like berries to me. So I might do that one next after this purple one. But I also was thinking I could use these in that hexy blanket, the next one, for like leftovers and stuff, because this doesn't look like a sock yarn to me. So I don't want it to wear out. I don't want to use it on the foot of anything because I don't want it to wear out. So I am gonna weigh these and see how much I would need to leave for it to be used in the hexie blanket, which means if it's exactly what I would need, then I'm gonna frog this little bit back to the gray and just use these for that, and hopefully use all of these leftovers. I think this would be enough for the socks. We'll see. If I just am able to do the legs with them and then I do the foot all in gray, that would be fine too. This will be my only sock whip left from 2023, which is amazing because I was wanting to clear my sock needles for summer sock camp, which starts at the end of May normally, beginning of June, goes June, July, August usually. June, July, August. Pick number 3, my lord. Which would be awesome. I have another pair of socks that I cast on this year in January, but I think I can get through that or just add it to because I think whips are allowed for summer sock camp. I'm not sure. And even if they're not, having one that doesn't count for summer sock camp would be fine. So anyway, that is the last of those. So we've got new needles to buy for this one, the hat. I'm going to frog the socks. I'm going to finish these socks. And then I have the 2 shawls left, and that'll be all. But honestly, the shawls might take me even longer than the rest of 2024. I'm not sure. But, you know, if I finish the half and half wrap, and the only thing I have left on my needles at the end of 2024 is the Anthology throw, I'm pretty darn sure I'll be satisfied with that. Pretty darn sure. And if I'm not, maybe I'll bind it off on New Year's Eve. We'll see. So next time, for the podcast episode, I'll already have a 2023 whip that I've dealt with because I'm going to frog those socks. So I'll be ahead of the game. Maybe I can finish the Musselburgh next month because I'd really like to have that to use. It is very soft. And maybe I'll do the socks as my May 2023 whip so that I can have everything done by summer sock camp from 2023, all the socks off the needles from 2023, and then all I'll have left are the 2 shawls. That would feel amazing. Guys, I'm so glad I walked through this with you. That would feel amazing. I'm so glad I have a plan now. This is so awesome. Okay, I'm gonna get to frogging and setting out the whip that I'm gonna be working on the most.